contractor. I had mentioned last week, you can call the licensing and regulatory agency. You can go online. I said call, you don't have to call them. You go online, you can look up their license. If it's a residential construction, you want to make certain that they have a residential builder's license under what's known as Article 24 of the Michigan Occupational Code. In order to do improvements or to do a construction on a residential property, the contractor must be properly licensed under Article 24. If they're not licensed, don't hire them. Don't do it. You get their license number, and you're also going to check. It'll tell you whether or not they've been subject to any discipline at the state. If they have been, you can then call up there. They won't give you that information online, but you have to call up. You might have to make a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, to get exactly what discipline was imposed and why. But if they have been disciplined, that's probably a contractor you want to avoid, because
I imagine so.
To be subject to discipline up at the state is, it usually has to be a pretty, I don't want to say very bad, but there's usually some reason, good reason why they've imposed that discipline. They don't just do it for a minor slap on the wrist.
Right.
So now you've got the contractor, you know that the contractor's qualified, you know that the contractor's licensed. Now you're going to start looking at what the contract is. Do not do construction without a written contract in place. All right? So many people, they start the construction, they're anxious to get going, they do it without a contract. Big mistake. Right? Then from the contractor's point of view, the contractor usually wants a written contract. A reputable contractor is going to present you with a contract. The other piece of advice is don't sign it, because the contract that the contractor is presenting you with has all kinds of exculpatory clauses. It's the term I use is a draconian contract, drafted by the contractor's lawyer. Look, I represent contractors. I've drafted these things. Okay? I know what you have to look out for. And so what you do is you can take that contract, but now take it to a lawyer of your own and have that lawyer review the contract. That lawyer can tell you what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly about that particular contract.
And then you can amend that contract.
And make the changes to it. Yeah, I mean, some of the things, it used to be, I haven't seen this lately in a construction contract, but we have in Michigan what's known as the Construction Lien Act. The Construction Lien Act is a statutory lien that a contractor, a laborer or a material man, a supplier, if they supply labor or materials to the improvement of real property in Michigan, they're entitled to a statutory lien. It's the construction lien. It used to be called the mechanics lien. It's now called a construction lien.
That's L-I-E-N, not L-E-A-N.
You got it. L-I-E-N, a lien against property to secure payment of the amount that the contractor claims is due. And that lien, and there's nothing wrong with lien. I'm firmly in favor of the lien, but there have been contractors, and it was really very prevalent back in the 80s and early 90s, that a contractor, if you owned a parcel of property and you were going to build a house on it, the contractor, in order to avoid having to go through the technical requirements of enforcing a lien under the Act, would actually have you, as part of the contract, convey the property to the builder, and then upon completion of the project and satisfactory payment to the contractor, would convey the property back. That got eliminated principally in 1995 by virtue of Proposal A, which uncapped property taxes, all right, by transfer. So now it's no longer in vogue. I haven't seen that in a contract in some years. So understand that they are going to have rights under the Construction Lien Act. In order for a contractor to enforce those rights, there must be a written contract. The contractor must be licensed. The license number has to be in the contract itself. And again, I don't oppose a construction lien. I think a contractor has a right, if they're unpaid, if they've done the work, it's satisfactory work, and they don't get paid, then they ought to be entitled to exercise that lien. They have to file notice. They have to go through the legal process, and it's not a foreclosure by advertisement. They have to go to court to enforce that lien. You get a chance as the owner to raise any defenses that you may have, you know, lack of quality construction, wasn't done in accordance with the contract, etc. So that's just part. Let's put the Construction Lien Act over to the side. The other things you're going to look for is you want to make certain that the contractor is properly insured. You want to make certain that they have what's known as CGL coverage, comprehensive general liability coverage, so that if they injure somebody while they're on the property, You know, somebody drops a hammer on somebody below them, or they strike somebody with an automobile, etc., that they've got CGL coverage in a satisfactory amount. The other thing that you want to make sure they have is what's known as builder's risk insurance. And builder's risk, you have to understand that if I'm building something on my property, the supplier of the materials, let's suppose I'm building a house, the supplier of the roof joists come out, they deliver them to the site, and I've got $15,000 worth of roof joists sitting there on my front yard waiting to be incorporated into the structure. Something happens to those joists. My homeowner's insurance isn't going to cover.
I see.
My homeowner's insurance covers only those things that are incorporated into the structure. Builder's risk covers those things that are not yet, that are delivered to the site, but are not yet incorporated into the structure. So you make sure that the contractor has builder's risk. You also make sure that the contractor has workers' compensation insurance. Because they're going to have laborers on there, labor falls off the roof, gets injured, now all of a sudden, they may bring a claim against you, the owner, as the person in control of the premises. So now you got to worry about whether or not that employee is covered. So in the contract, you provide for insurance. And Laura just arrived, so we're just talking. We're following up on the conversation from last week.
Sounds like it. Are you gonna build something?
No, you always have something going. Yeah. No.
After Christmas, I want a bigger kitchen.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, Jackie? Yes.
Were you a little crowded this Christmas in the kitchen?
Well, we have one of the big houses on Michigan Avenue, so it has the maid never needed a big kitchen, right? Apparently the maid still doesn't need a big kitchen.
Yeah, not quite what's known as a Pullman kitchen, where you just have the one aisle in between two counters, but it is pretty small.
It's cozy.
Yeah, we had, as I say, 32 people over on Saturday night, and it's a little bit cozy.
I bet.
Yeah, but we still had a good time, and Laura did a great job.
Jackie.
And Jackie as well, yeah.
Very good.
So, but yeah, I mean, again, we're only...
I'm going to give a shout out to John Larson, because he's got to be one of the world's best sons, if he were mine, but he's not my son.
And shout out to his girlfriend, Megan, too. What's Megan's last name?
Brennan.
Megan Brennan, this absolute doll of a girl, and if John doesn't marry her, he's got to be one of the dumbest guys I know.
Uh-oh, boy.
Jeez,
we're going to have
guy.
Really?
Oh, John is great. Oh, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. And this
He did a lot of work.
He did a ton of work. But Megan is a really, really cute, very, very nice young woman. So, but we had a very interesting, eclectic crowd at Christmas dinner. It was quite fun.
Very good.
Yeah, and we got done earlier. We ate at 8 o'clock, Jackie. Did you know that? Started
8:30.
early, and we were done by about 11:30, 12 o'clock. It's always nice when you have a dinner party. People actually sit at a dinner table for 3 hours having a conversation.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that was very good. So, anyway, yeah, we were just following up on the conversation from last week as well.
So I went and looked at a house yesterday that I sold, and they're renovating, and they did this amazing stonework that faces the lake, and G Farms did it. You should see these rocks they brought in for steps and retaining wall, just massive, and they did an amazing job. Absolutely amazing job. I didn't know G Farms did that stuff.
What lake was that on?
That's on Browns Lake.
And
it's just they're doing the change, the formation in this house is quite spectacular.
Did they get a permit?
Well, I assume they've got builders.
Yeah.
Licensed builders.
Anything go in?
When you do a retaining wall, do you need a permit?
No, not if it's not. If it's all upland, I need a building.
Oh, yeah.
I may need a building permit, but I'm talking about a DEQ permit. So.
I see.
Anything go in the water in the lake?
No.
Yeah, okay. Then no DEQ permit.
No, this just goes down the hill.
Yeah,
slope.
right. No, I wouldn't need it.
They did take out there was a tunnel in the house, and that kind of took you down. There was some strange floor plan, and they've really done a great creation they really reconfigured this house nicely.
A tunnel? What, did that lead like to a boathouse or?
No, it took them. It took you under ground. So it used to be the ground, like the house sits up on a hill, and so the tunnel just took you out to the flatlands underneath, kind of steps that took you from the house on the outside. The tunnel took you from the basement of the house to the land.
Most unusual.
Yeah, and so they took that out, opened it up, put in some daylight windows in the basement, and just the difference between night and day.
They have a written contract with the contractor?
I didn't ask them that question. I'm gonna guess no.
Contractor have insurance in case one of those boulders fell on the foot of somebody?
Well, there are a couple different contractors involved, and I'm gonna guess that at least one of them does. I don't know about the other. I have no idea.
Is there a general contractor or individual contractor? That's
I
one of the
think
other
there's-
things I would always do, because usually people hire a general contractor who then contracts with subcontractors to do individual parts of the work. So they have a general?
I don't know how this is working. There's a couple different
Right.
contractors involved, which to me would be a problem because if something goes wrong, who do you point the finger
Right,
to?
that's one of the points I would make, is that
Thank you.
instead of acting as your own general contractor and trying to coordinate all the trades, what you do is you actually hire a person. Even though you're now paying the general contractor, it's well worth it if you get a good general contractor, because the general can save you money in terms of negotiating with the several trades. That's one of the other things. We haven't even gotten into pricing for the particular project, the specifications, the pricing, the bidding for different aspects of it. But having a general who is the person who's at the top of the pyramid to whom you can look if something isn't done properly by the electrician or by the plumber or the mechanical contractor or the framers or the mason, all of these different trades that come out of the project, you have, instead of having to look to each of them, you got the general contractor, and it's a general contractor who has the responsibility to make certain that all of those trades are good. If the trade doesn't work well, if something is wrong, then the general has a responsibility to go after that trade.
Do you have when you build a house, you typically have like a year builder's warranty, right? When you build a brand new house?
It depends upon what it is. Usually the roof warranty is going to be much longer. I'll get a 20-year warranty on the roof. On the mechanicals, they may try to limit you to 1 year, but I want assignment, since the contractor is often buying all of these things and then simply handing it over to you at the end of the project. You want to make certain that your contract provides for assignment of all of the underlying warranties. So if the furnace has a warranty of 5 years or 10 years, whatever it may be, that assignment is over to you. Then yes, there is a builder's warranty. You often find it at 1 year, but there's no state law that says it has to be a 1 year warranty.
Oh, so if I find, what's the warranty going to typically cover? I know you're not a builder. So.
What happens is you have to watch out for because it'll be a limited warranty, and the limited warranty supplants or supersedes the general warranties. I usually have a 6-year period of time in which to sue under the statute of limitations if there's a defect in construction. The contract is going to provide for a shorter time in terms of either a limited warranty, or one of the other clauses to watch out for is that you only have a prescribed period of time, which is shorter than the 6-year statute, to go after the contractor.
So what should it cover? Like,
what should what cover?
the warranty. What's it going to typically cover?
It'll cover everything, including
Workmanship,
nail polish.
materials,
Right.
unless, like when we did our project, I specified cast iron plumbing.
Right, and they put in PVC and they ended up having to tear it out.
Right.
Right.
But we paid the cost difference of the PVC versus the cast iron.
Yeah, that's not an issue, but that's because the contractor who installed the PVC put in the wrong stuff. We had the responsibility to pay for cast iron. I don't have any problem with that. I'm willing to pay for the higher quality product.
Now, I'm the one who discovered that. Whose responsibility was it to discover? The general contractor?
Yes. The general contractor should have been right there watching it, making certain that before the walls were covered up, before the drywall was put in, that everything met the specs of the contract.
What happens if the specs of the contract call for cast iron and they put in PVC, everything gets buttoned up, they hand you the key to your place, and you...
They get to tear out the walls and put in cast iron and replace everything.
What if you don't know what the difference is between PVC and cast iron, and someone
We
comes
hope
and
most
tells
people
you,
know the difference
no,
between
that
plastic
no,
and
the
cast
reason
iron.
why you would use it, and
That's why
so let me finish.
sure.
And then you couple years later, you have a guest over and they hear the toilet flushing
Because it was
it's
PVC
and
instead
not
of cast iron. Right.
Do you still get that covered? It's a couple years, 3 years down the road.
Depends upon what your contract says. As I just mentioned, if you don't have a limited period of time, if the contract doesn't prescribe a shorter period of time than the statute of limitations,
But if
the statute
the specs,
let me finish.
if the specs called for
You notice the difference
cast
here,
iron.
Mike? Okay.
Yeah.
When she said, "Let me finish," I stopped talking.
Yeah.
I said, "Let me
Yeah,
finish."
but
What
you
did
talk
she do?
all the time. So when the specs call for cast iron, and they put in PVC, they didn't tell you the difference. But
They being who?
the contractor that installed it.
Right? Where was my general when this stuff was going in? Why didn't the general find it?
Well, let's just say they didn't find it. So there's got to be some. I have 6 years, I assume.
So my statute of limitations on a breach of contract action is 6 years. Okay, negligence for injuries to persons and property is 3 years. The issue becomes, is that an injury to property? There's a case decided about a year and a half ago that expanded the definition of injury to property, but I don't know whether that's going to be a 3-year or a 6-year statute. I just don't know off the top of my head. Okay.
But I have recourse.
You have recourse, and then the next issue is how significant or how material a defect is that, since it didn't conform to the contract, and I want cast iron, and it makes a difference in terms of the noise, in terms of when somebody flushes a toilet or takes a shower, etc. I would insist on having it ripped out and replaced. But then the other thing is, do I have a contractor that's still around and has the economic wherewithal to be able to satisfy the claim for damages? Because you'd be looking at a huge, huge cost to rip everything out, replace it with cast iron, and then put everything back. I mean, so the question is, does the contractor just file bankruptcy, or is the contractor even around? Does the contractor, or is the contractor?
Well, if you
able
did
to
your
satisfy
homework,
the
you
claim?
probably have a reputable one.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's what we were talking about. When you weren't here, that's one of the things we were talking about. So we covered that subject in your absence.
Okay, we're going to take just a brief 3-minute break, and we'll be back with more Thinking Real Estate.
To take the car.